Toss to White. He's in. Patriots win the Super Bowl.
Welcome to Patriots Touchback Podcast.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome along back to the Patriots Touchback Podcast, Season 3, Episode 66. And it's April 1st, so it's April Fool's Day. Anybody got any good jokes? No, right, we'll move on. The New York Jets? No, that's just the running joke. That's just the running joke nowadays.
The year-long April Fool's joke, the New York Jets.
Oh, dear. Yeah, we're here again, recapping on the draft classes, and tonight we're going to talk about linebackers. Not the most sexiest of positions, and a need which the Patriots do need, but it's not overly desperate for. But we're going to deep dive into that class as well. I've got Kieran and I've got Rob on board with me tonight, so big up to you, gentlemen. Please make sure that you smash the like button, you gronks, like the subscribe button, you tell all your friends, you follow us on social media platforms. Make sure you follow the podcast on Spotify and on Apple as well. We're on 90 subscribers. We are 10 away from the magic 100. We're 3 weeks away now from the NFL draft, so let's get to them 100 subs by the time the NFL draft comes. It'll be absolutely amazing for us. Gentlemen, how are we doing? We've had a very, could say a short break, shall we say, because it's just last time we was here was on the Saturday. How have you all been?
Pretty good. Busy. Feel like I've not really stopped, so I'm looking forward to being able to sort of chill out and talk some football for an hour.
You're not busy when you're a full-time parent, you know, to deal with holidays, mate. Don't go there. Do not go there. It's only Wednesday evening. I already want to shoot myself. It's really problematic for me. It is what it is. Are you all right, Kaz? Have you enjoyed your weekend? How have you been?
Yeah, I'm all good. Had a few sniffles. At work at the moment, we've come down with a second coming of a pandemic, so I'm kind of like the only one standing at the moment. So I've got kind of like a little bit of sniffles, but overall, I'm fighting through, and I'm going to come through the questionable tag and be available.
Okay, then. Well, for health and safety purposes, please don't try and sneeze through the screen, please. We all want to get to London in 3 weeks' time in one piece and with no sniffles.
Rather now, definitely. Yeah,
exactly that. I do have some good news on my side of things, actually. I've because it's my birthday this coming Monday, I've gone and ordered myself a Drake May jersey.
Nice.
Which one? What do you mean, which one? What was
home, away.
Oh, yeah, the home jersey.
Rivalries? Nice. Yeah, the rivalries one's nice.
I don't have the Fanatics have pissed me off, actually. Fanatics have legitimately pissed me off. They don't have the rivalry jersey as Fanatics anymore. Sold out.
Yeah.
And I'm honestly, I could take it or leave it. I
like it.
No, the one I want is the throwback. I want a red throwback.
The red one, yeah.
If Gonzo gets the bag, that will be who will go on the back.
Here's a quick thing before we go. You know, with jersey talk. So yeah, I've had a couple of I've got Gronk and Brady and stuff like that, but I often like to go for players that are a little bit left field. Sometimes the underappreciated one. Now, myself and Carl both got caught out when we both had a Chase Winovich jersey. Which
that is road. That is
yeah.
road.
I mean, it was after the rookie year. We looked great.
The thing is, I've been able to recycle it. I don't have to wear it, but you just turn it to the front and you just go, "Oh no, it's actually a Mike Vrabel jersey."
Nice.
So if so you don't.
I got stopped on the train just from Enfield to Tottenham before one of the London games. I think it was the Ravens Titans game, and a guy stopped me and was like, "Vrabel? No." Ninkovic? No. It's Winovich, isn't it? Yeah. I think if I was to get one again now, obviously Drake's fantastic. I don't know who I would go with, to be fair.
So my favorite one that I've ever had is Donta Hightower.
Nice,
and I was at a London game and someone pointed out to me, so that's the first time I've ever seen a Hightower jersey. And I was like, yeah, that's pretty cool. And then I've got a T-shirt at the moment with Spillane on the back. Who's my favorite player on the roster? So that's a little bit left field.
Can't remember. I did say last year, 2 years ago, in my first season with the pod, that if Kayshon Boutte had 100 yards and a touchdown in the London game, I would have bought one. as like a bet, but unfortunately that didn't happen.
That did not happen. No, it did not. The thing is with me when it comes to jerseys, is that you buy. I bought the Winovich one, because he was a Michigan guy. I was watching Michigan, so I knew what the guy's capable of. But also, it's the risk of he might not be there throughout his entirety of his career. And the thing is, you're trying to get back of your jersey, which is going to be there for most part of your career, which is really only a quarterback if you think about it, unless it's a stalwart guy like in the defensive side of the ball. So it's really, really difficult to pinpoint who's going to be on the roster and who isn't. So, but when you know you've got a quarterback for the next 10, 15 years, he's going to be staying with you. Guess what? That's probably the most surefire way you could go about things. I could get 3 Drake May jersey, home, away, and throwback, but then that's just plain bloody boring. I mean, yeah, I was tempted to actually get a custom-made Edelman throwback one, but Edelman even wore a throwback jersey, so it's a bit meaningless. It's besides the point, really. But anyway, enough talk about jerseys and that. Let's talk about linebackers, because this is the NFL draft show, the start of the linebacker class. I'm going to kick things off with obviously the guy at the top of the class, even though he's probably going to them stinking, disgusting, that nauseating fan base known as the New York Jets. And that's Arvell Reese, the linebacker at Ohio State. Top of his class. The tape you see on display is basically second to none. 241 pounds, 6'4". He's a junior. 10-yard split, 1.58, 4.46 in the 40-yard dash. So really good, really. Hands are all of his metrics are pretty much spot on where they should be. His comparison could be someone like a Nolan Smith, maybe a Jihad Campbell from Philadelphia. Potentially about that. You know, his 2025 season belonged to Reese. You know, he recorded 69 tackles, 10 tackles for loss, and 6.5 sacks across 14 games, or playing roughly half his snaps on the defensive line, the other half in the box. So he is a linebacker slash high safety slash linebacker by the looks of it, a hybrid linebacker by the looks of it. The numbers earned a Big Ten Linebacker of the Year award, first team All Big Ten and consensus All American honors. He stands, obviously, we know, the 6'4" of 243 pounds. Long arms built for disruption off the field. Reese is a 2-time Ohio State scholar athlete, an academic All Big Ten honoree majoring a human in development and family science. He declared for the 2026 draft following his junior campaign. Kieran, Arvell Reese, we pretty know he's going to go extremely high. How high would he go? Probably as high as probably say as the New York Jets. I don't think he's going to go first overall, because there's no way the Raiders are missing out on Fernando Mendoza. So the highest he could go is the Jets, which would suck for us because we've got to face him twice a season now for the next 4 years. 5 years, actually, if you exercise the 5th-year option. What have you made of Arvell Reese at Ohio State? I've seen plenty of him, and this guy's a fucking missile. He's a missile when he gets going.
Yeah, he is. Freak athlete, true sideline to sideline guy. You know, the speed is quite clear. He has tremendous power when coming downhill. He's clean and polished as a tackler. He's like you said, he's a hybrid player. They kind of move him around. Sometimes he plays as a traditional off-ball linebacker. Sometimes he lines up as an edge rusher. And I think he is number one on a lot of people's boards because of pure projection, right? I think teams are looking at the rare physical traits and what he's shown as not even a 21-year-old yet, and thinking what this guy could be. So yeah, I think he's a great player. I think, as high as 2 potentially. For the record, I wouldn't take him at 2, and that might surprise some people, but I wouldn't. I think his range probably goes all the way down to maybe like 8, something like that. I don't see him getting out the top 10. I don't think that's going to happen. The reason why I wouldn't take him at 2, I don't have him as the number 1 linebacker on my board. I have his teammate, Sonny Styles, ahead of him. And the reason why is if you look at what Arvell Reese is, he is this hybrid player that can play a bit of both of off-ball linebacker and edge rusher. As a pure off-ball linebacker, he's not the best in the class for me. I think that's Sonny Styles. Sonny Styles was the green dot guy for Ohio State. He's way better in coverage than Arvell Reese. They've got both very similar athletic traits. They're both freak athletes. I think Styles has better IQ and communication. And then if you look at the other side of it, at the edge rusher, Arvell Reese isn't the best edge rusher in the class. So if you're not the best off-ball linebacker and you're not the best edge rusher, how can you warrant being number 2 overall? It is pure projection. And I think based on what I've seen, based on fact, if I'm looking for an absolute bona fide specific off-ball linebacker, I would take Sonny Styles ahead of him. Now, if you don't really care where you're going to play Reese and you see him as someone you're going to move around, absolutely, you pull the trigger. I don't have an issue with that. But if you want a linebacker to play off-ball linebacker, I think you take Styles ahead of him.
Yeah, legitimate sideline speed. So he plays north to south, which is what you expect of him. Elite run defender who diagnoses plays at lightning speed. Tackles with authority and rarely whiffs. He missed just 4 tackles in 2025, and nearly 70 stops. Speaks to his technique and his finish. Power at the point of attack is legit. True positional versatility is a chess piece. Pass rush upside is very real. Long arms and excellent hand usage allow him to keep blockers out of his pads. And high-end production in 2025 against top competition. His tape against Michigan, please don't remind me, and other Big Ten powers holds up on repeat viewing. Rob, it does sound like he is the full product when it comes to on the defensive side of the ball, especially at linebacker position. Could he potentially Could he go second? Could he end up going to the Jets, or is he? Or do you agree on the same line as Kieran, where Sonny Styles might go ahead of him?
I mean, it's really close between these two guys for me, and it's kind of crazy to think that these guys have been playing alongside each other in that Ohio State defense. I can't remember personally at a time where 2 players this high in the draft have been playing alongside each other, and then you had to factor in someone like Caleb Downs as well, who's going to go high in the draft as well. You know, there's a little bit of a case of like who's most responsible for the success of the defense. I think, like Kieran said, if you're sort of looking at who's the best player right now today, it probably is Sonny Styles. However, as it's been mentioned, like the projection, the potential that Arvell Reese has, I think, is off the scale. And that's not to say that Sonny Styles doesn't have incredibly high potential as well, because I think that he does. I think that the comparison that like jumped out to me with Arvell Reese, and maybe this is a little bit of recency bias or falling in love, but that sort of linebacker edge hybrid, it's Micah Parsons, right? It's somebody that I think that with time in the NFL probably gets moved to the edge. And if he's able to really hone his skills as a pass rusher, then the value that you get from having a top pass rusher in the NFL is insanely high. And although there's incredible value of having a great middle linebacker like Fred Warner, for example, or someone like that, it's not the same as if you're able to find yourself one of the elite pass rushers in the NFL. And so I think that, when you're talking about that high of a draft pick, there's an argument to be made both ways. Do you want that kind of more sure thing in terms of what Sonny Styles is going to be? Mm-hmm. But if you want to kind of take a little bit of a risk, and I don't think that Arvell Reese has got like a low floor. I think he's going to be a good player at the very least, But I think that the value that you could potentially get if Arvell Reese turns into what he can potentially be is so great that I really, I would probably guess that Arvell Reese goes higher than Sonny Styles, but you could do it either way, really. It would make sense either way. But for me, I would go Reese above Styles just.
Yeah, I'm looking at his weaknesses here, and there are some glaring ones. Coverage remains a question mark. Short area quickness becomes a limiting factor when matched man-to-man against quicker tight ends or receiving backs out the backfield. Well, that basically means that he doesn't want to be one-on-one with Trayvon Henderson, then, does he? Aggressive downhill style creates vulnerabilities. He bites hard on play fakes and can open cutback lanes by attacking gaps too hard. Pass rush plan needs more layers. Pass rush instincts are not quite as natural. He wins with more athleticism rather than feel for timing, leverage, or setting up blockers. And one full season as a starter, the production is undeniable, but a larger sample size would answer question about consistency and durability. So he's a 1-year player. He is a 1-year player, so that's a risky. That last one there, I can now actually see Sonny Styles going above Arvel Reese just on that one bit alone. But while we're on the subject, let's move into Sonny Styles, shall we? Because if this is the comparison we're trying to put, we'll kill two birds with one stone with this one. So you go to Sonny Styles, 6'5", 244. He's a senior, a lot more experience this time. His 10-yard split was 1.56. His vertical was 43.5. His 40-yard dash was 4.46. His broad was 134. Everything else was all in the yellow. The free cone drill was in the light orange, so it's about average, you could say. Again, you're looking at someone like Peyton Wilson or a Jack Campbell, potentially, as a comparison. Styles, he returned to 2025 and tallied 83 tackles, 1 interception, 3 pass breakups, and a forced fumble in 14 games. His brother, Lorenzo Jr., transferred from Notre Dame to join him on the Buckeyes roster. Off the field, Styles has earned multiple academic All-Big Ten awards while volunteering with Huckleberry House, a non-profit serving at-risk youth in Ohio. So, again, someone looks like somewhere down the line will be up for the Walton Payton Award. Strengths, rare athleticism for the position. Combined numbers confirm what Ohio State testing sessions already showed. Coverage ability is uncommon for an off-the-ball linebacker. He carries tight ends and matches backs on option routes. Violent hands at the point of attack. Sideline to sideline range allows coordinators to trust him in single high shells and pursuit situations. Clean open field tackler who breaks down, takes proper angles, and uses long arms to expand his radius. A pre-snap diagnosis is sharp. He triggers early against screens and misdirection. Versatility to align as a Mike, will, overhang, or big nickel without missing a beat. Obviously, those are positions as where you are as a linebacker and so on. And zone coverage instincts are well above average. He reads the quarterback and disrupts throwing lanes consistently. Again, not really much to complain about regarding of Sonny Styles. From what I'm looking at this, it looks like it's a lot better than what Arvel Reese says, Rob.
Yeah, I mean, he's class, isn't he? You know, I think he's clearly the best true middle linebacker in the draft. And you know, you talked about the physical traits that this guy's got. He just absolutely swept the combine, just first in everything. You know, for those, I don't normally care too much about the combine, but when someone's, you know, top of the board across everything, it kind of stands out. But the other side to it is that it shows up on tape as well, like in the guy's movement. So his lateral movement on outside runs, he can get across the field really quickly, or if he's dropping back into coverage, he goes from backpedaling to, you know, when the ball's thrown and he breaks out of that to, you know, jumper out, for example. You know, he can close really, really quickly, and it sort of jumped off the tape for me. It flashed, you know, in terms of his athletic ability. Really strong tackler, shoots the gaps in, you know, when running on when defending the run. So I think he's class. Like, he just seems like a sort of no miss prospect. I think that he can, you know, go into the NFL, make an impact year one, and go on to become one of the best middle linebackers in the NFL. I think there's a lot less sort of bust potential with Styles than what there is with Reese. It's just about like that positional value, I suppose, in terms of what you think is really important. But as a middle linebacker, he's got all the traits that you look for. You mentioned about him being able to hang with tight ends and running backs, and you know, you can use him in that nickel package and not have to worry about, you know, it being a weakness, which you know, a lot of linebackers can be a liability in that sort of situation. And this guy seems like he's going to be able to hang with the best in the league. So yeah, really like him.
Yeah, so he does have some weaknesses though, although from what I'm reading, it doesn't look too particularly bad. Hip tightness, shows up in man coverage against quick twitch slot receivers on sharp breaks. He bites hard on play action fakes and vacates gap responsibility too early against RPOs and boot action. His play strength against interior linemen climbing to second level remains a concern at the NFL level. His pass rush technique needs refinement. He plays too upright, attacking gaps and is vulnerable to cut blocks. And only 2 full seasons at linebacker, still learning gap integrity and recognition of blocking schemes. Well, at least he's had 1 more year than Arvell Reese has, so that might be the kick. That might be the kicker in all of this. Kira, what? Sonny Styles, you've made the you've already made the hot take of he could go higher than Arvell Reese. From what I'm reading, it doesn't look too bad actually. He's had 1 year more than Reese, so at least he's got a little bit more experience to it, although he still needs redefining. Is he the best linebacker in this class? Would you say?
For me, he is. Yeah, for me, he is number 1. I'm not. I wouldn't say I'm confident like he's going to go ahead of Reese. I'm just saying I would take him ahead of Reese because I think Reese is more of a projection. He's more of an upside pick rather than the ready-made day one high floor starter that Sonny Styles is. For what it's worth as well, I wouldn't take either of the guys at 2 either because the value for off-ball linebacker isn't as high as it is for edge rusher. And if we're saying that Arvell Reese isn't a natural edge rusher, although he can kind of moonlight there in that kind of hybrid role, I think if I'm the Jets at number 2, I'm taking one of the pass rushers. Like that's a lot more positional value. But this is the Jets we're talking about. So if they want to reach on a linebacker, then that's their prerogative. But yeah, I mean, Styles and Reese are both, as we said, freakishly athletic. There's not a lot in them in terms of their physical measurables. They've both got unbelievable range and speed. I think Styles is much better in coverage. I think, you said about the hip tightness in man, but overall he can cover in man coverage. Like he's a good coverage guy, really good. Really, really sure tackler, had the best missed tackle rate in the entire country. Like this is a guy that wraps up and does it well. High end, football IQ, pre-snap communications and adjustments is spot on. I don't see an awful lot of weaknesses here. And I think looking at him, I've got a landing spot, which I don't know if he's going to go there, but I could see him being of interest to them. And I'll read the reasons why. So who picks a number 4? The Tennessee Titans. Who's the head coach? Robert Saleh. Who has Robert Saleh had as his 2 signal calling linebackers in his last 2 jobs? Fred Warner and CJ Mosley, guys that are the quarterback of the defense. This is what Sonny Styles is going to be in the NFL. And if I'm Robert Saleh and I think, well, this guy could be the linchpin of our defense with what they've done on the front 7 and so far, and they've added in the secondary, I think you've put Styles into that defense. It's looking really, really good.
So could you potentially hold on? So could you potentially see Tennessee trading up from 2 to 4?
No, I don't think you need to. I don't think
4 to 2. Sorry, beg your pardon.
I don't think the Jets are taking Styles at 2. I'm just saying.
Who's at 3? Who's picking at 3?
Arizona.
I mean, they've got a magnitude of holes. They could go absolutely anywhere.
Jeremiah Love.
Maui is where I would go.
I generally thought Jeremiah Love would go to Tennessee because they don't have a running back.
I mean, yeah, but then again, would you prefer having an all-world green dot linebacker who could be the cornerstone of your defense for 10 years or a running back? Jeremiah Love is amazing, one of the best players in the draft. Do you want to take him at 4? Tony Pollard's good enough to get by.
The only other place I can see Jeremiah Love maybe going to is maybe the Saints. I can't think of another team obviously Kansas City, obviously, but they've just got Kenneth Walker now. So why would you go and get Jeremiah Love?
Washington, maybe.
I'm going to say Washington, yeah.
Yeah, Washington's a good shout.
Yeah. I don't know. The Titans could quite easily take Love at number 4, but I'm just saying, like, you look at Robert Saleh's history, being a defensive guy, looking at who he's had in the past. I think Sonny Styles, my comp for him is Fred Warner. So, like, you can get your own Fred Warner at number 4. So that's the way I see it. It's so hard to say, but most boards are going to have Reese going at number 2. If I'm the Jets, I'm taking Bailey or Bain at number 2. But when all's said and done, Reese probably will go ahead of Styles, but I would go the other way around if it was me. And, I think Daniel Jeremiah released his updated top 50 today, and he had Styles above Reese. So there's another obviously well-connected guy that feels similarly, but there isn't a lot in them. I think it's just a case of, do you want to bank on the upside, the insane upside of Reese, that there's a guy who can be a bit of a do-it-all player for you, who can play that hybrid, or if you want someone that you know what you're getting as a pure off-ball linebacker, then I think Styles is the better player. But it's going to be very subjective for the next couple of weeks of the draft.
Yeah. Let's move on to the next next contender, shall we? So CJ Allen out of Georgia. Let's have a look at his metrics here. So 6'1", a bit on the short side, weight 230, bit on the light side, 40, ran a 4.55, which is pretty good. Hand size is decent, arm length a little bit on the short side, but should be okay. Hard to tell. I don't have a comparison for CJ Allen. I don't believe on my pages here. 2025 campaign. He represented a combination as the heartbeat of Georgia's defense. Down at 6'1", 235. He led the Bulldogs in tackles, 88 tackles for loss, 8 sacks, 3.5, while forcing 2 fumbles that swung games. His 11 tackle effort keyed the overtime win at Tennessee, and he came up with crucial forced fumbles against both Kentucky and Auburn. The accolades piled up accordingly. What a award to win, the Dick Butkus Award finalist, lot Impact Trophy finalists, SEC coaches, all SEC first team, and a spot on watch lists for the Bednarik Award. Allen also served on both the SEC Student Athlete Leadership Council and Football Leadership Council, cementing his reputation as much more than just a playmaker. His strengths consist of you put the tape on against any SEC running game, and you will see Allen flying downhill with rare decisiveness, wraps up finishes with textbook technique, takes on pulling guards and lead blockers with leverage and proper hand placement, covers ground sideline to sideline without 4.55 speed, reads his keys quickly and trusts his instincts, shows some dog in him as a blitzer, timing up his rushes through the A and the B gaps with good bursts. Natural communicator who gets teammates aligned pre-snap and handles the green dot responsibilities with the poise of a 10-year veteran. So he is captain material. And ball awareness in zone coverage has improved noticeably. Kieran, we're going a CJ Allen. He is a fantastic player. I saw a lot of Georgia last season, and CJ Allen was flying all over the place. What do you make of CJ Allen?
Well, I think he's probably the best natural run defending linebacker in the class. I've got here, plays like he's shot out of a cannon. That's what he's like when he's coming downhill. That's what he wants to do. He wants to explode down the field, come down, get in the backfield, and make a tackle for loss. Solid as a tackler. He's got good sideline to sideline range and good speed. He's smart, a great communicator. The thing for him, I think, is the fact that he's not very good in coverage at all. So, he's a downhill linebacker. He's going to come down. He's going to be a bit of a thumper. He's going to come down and smash running backs. You're going to blitz him. So he's going to require a specific scheme fit. A lot of teams that run zone coverage with their linebackers, he's not going to be a good fit for. But I have 2 teams earmarked for him who I think could really use him. And that's the Dallas Cowboys at number 20. And at 26, the Buffalo Bills. I think those are 2 teams that were getting gashed against the run last year. Done a bit in the trenches, but they both have a big need for a run-stuffing linebacker, downhill guy. And I think CJ Allen to either of those teams would be a really good selection. So I think he's a solid kind of pick in the 20s. Could fall out of the first round, I think, because linebacker value isn't overly great. He's my 4th linebacker, but I do like him, and I think if I'm Dallas in particular, if you can come out of the draft with a corner and CJ Allen out of the first round with your 2 picks, I think you've done really well there. So yeah, solid.
Yeah, he has got a few weaknesses. Hip stiffness limits his ability to flip and run with athletic tight ends or backs on angle routes. Gets caught flat-footed against quality play action. Lacks the pop of physicality to consistently stack and shed bigger blockers. Man coverage assignments against NFL caliber receiver threats will be a test. His footwork in transition needs refinement to stick with route breaks, and he's not a high value playmaker despite the production. Does not create turnovers, explosive hits, or splash plays at a rate that matches his overall production. CJ Allen, he does have some slight deficiencies. Is he going to fall like to the back end of the first round, or is he still going to be somewhere around the middle of the park?
I don't know. He could, it's a tough one, right? Because I've seen him mocked, sort of like you say, sort of late teens, early 20s, that kind of thing. And he's a decent player, isn't he? As mentioned, he's a middle linebacker. He can, come in, stop the run game pretty well. But I just don't see a particularly like high ceiling with him. He just doesn't seem to like flash off the screen for me. I think he's a pretty solid player, but there's a clear deficiency, as it's been mentioned, in terms of him being able to cover. And I think when you're talking about somebody who you're looking at picking in the first round, you want them to be able to play all three downs and play all three downs effectively. And I don't think he really screams that he's got the ability to do that for me. I think he's going to get exposed against some of the faster backs and tight ends in the NFL. And yes, he's a pretty good run defender, but he's not built how you would want him to be necessarily in terms of if that's what you're looking for. Even some of the guys that we've had on the Patriots, like Jelani Tavai, is up there at nearly 250. Juwan Bentley was up at 250. Guys who are just pure run stuffing linebackers, and this guy's pretty short of that in terms of height and weight. So yes, he could go in the middle of the first round, but even if he was available at 31, like, I wouldn't really have any interest in him coming here, even if we had a bit of a bigger need at linebacker. Really, like it wouldn't surprise me if he drops down into the second round.
It's not really a run stuffing linebacker we need, do we? It's more of a case of we need someone at linebacker who can stop the pass, coach through the middle.
Sure, but even in the argument of like best player available is what I mean is that, I think that, even if he was there at 31, there'd be other players that I'd look at the board and think, they're better players than him. That's what I mean, so, he could go in the first round, but I wouldn't be pulling the trigger, or I wouldn't be very excited to personally.
He's one where if he gets past Buffalo at 26, I think he falls out the first round.
Yeah.
I think I've earmarked those two places for him. If he isn't a Dallas Cowboy or a Buffalo Bill, I don't see where he goes in that first round range, and he's probably going to go high end of 2. So he has a lot of variance. But then when you get into the second round range, and the guy that we're going to come on to next, Jacob Rodriguez, I feel like a lot more teams are going to be more interested in Jacob Rodriguez over CJ Allen.
Yeah, we'll get on to Rodriguez in a bit because he's not next on our list. The next player I'm going to
have next,
Anthony Hill.
Okay,
no,
he's a lot further down for me.
That's what I got on this list on here anyway. 6'2", 238. So all good on those.
Does this ranking have Anthony Hill over Rodriguez?
That's what they've got on this list.
Are they high?
They must be. I'll tell you what.
Fucking bonkers.
Okay. Well, the thing is, though, there are supposed to be 2 linebackers supposed to be going ahead of Rodriguez, from what I can tell in the mock drafts I've seen. One of them is potentially Jake Golday out of Cincinnati, and the other one could be Gabe Jackus. Although looking at his size, 260, 6'4" for a linebacker.
He's a defensive end.
He's an edge.
Yeah. But why they got him in this? Okay, we'll move. Okay.
Should we do Rodriguez? Because we both got me and Kez have both got him next on our list, I think.
Yes. Let's do Gabe Rodriguez. I absolutely love this guy. So yeah, let's do Jacob Rodriguez, shall we? Watching this guy at Texas Tech was a joy, an absolute joy all season. I was watching the playoff game against Oregon. Every single play was made on the defensive side of the ball. Rodriguez was on it on all the way through. This guy has just got, you look. I don't want to use a football term or phrase here, but I will on this instance. When a midfielder in soccer, is very good at scanning the field and just knows how to read the game so well. This is Jacob Rodriguez in soccer form. This is Jacob Rodriguez. 6'1", a little bit on the short side, weight 231, a bit on the light side, vertical 38.5, pretty good actually for his size if you think about it. It was a 4.57. His free cone drill was a 6.9, which is pretty good. I like the free. Two metrics I like is the 10-yard shuttle and the free cone drill gives you how quick your agility are, how quick you get out your breaks. 10-yard split was a 1.60, so very good. Ball jump 121, and his shuttle run was 4.19. His comparison could be something like. We've got a Patriots comparison on this, found it. Marty Mapu, maybe. I would say he's an upgrade over Marty Mapu, if I had to be honest.
He's a big upgrade over Marty Mapu.
Yeah.
And also very differently built.
So after a promising bit injury shortened 2023 season, which he only played 5 games, but he did get the MVP for the Independence Bowl. Okay. Rodriguez broke out in 2024 with 127 tackles, 10.5 tackles for loss, and 5 sacks, and all Big 12 first team honors. His senior year in 2025 was historic. Rodriguez posted 128 tackles, 7 forced fumbles, 4 interceptions, and 2 fumble recoveries while anchoring a Texas Tech defense that led the FBS in takeaways and rushing yards. He swept the Bednarak, Butkus, Nagurski, and Lombardi awards, finished 5th in Heisman voting, and helped lead the Red Raiders to the first Big 12 championship. He's got his strengths are really good. Elite defender who keys quickly and fires downhill. Sideline to sideline range is legitimate. Active, violent hands working off blocks. Ball production is absurd. 13 career forced fumbles, 6 interceptions, and 5 fumble recoveries. Quarterback background shows up in pre-snap reads and coverage instincts against underneath routes. A constant mover who frustrates climbing linemen with his ability to avoid getting locked on. Combine performance confirmed the athleticism, top-tier agility scores, and a strong vertical. 2-year captain who clearly raises the play of those around him on film. So, Kieran, please explain to me why the hell I am seeing in every mock draft I'm doing Jacob Rodriguez go into the middle of the second or late to the second. This guy screams like a first rounder, by the way it looks.
Late to the second, absolutely not. Probably high 2. Maybe have a chance to sneak into the back end of 1. And again, it just comes down to that linebacker value, right? Like he's one of these guys that you can just slot into a defense tomorrow and he'd be able to start and do a great job. Yes, he's undersized, but he's instinctive. You mentioned the way that he sees the field and processes. Well, he has a background as a quarterback, so he basically sees the field like a quarterback. He has a real knack for getting his hands on the ball. Like he's always in and around the ball. He has that sideline to sideline range and the short area quickness. He can cut off screens and check downs very quick. He's a high motor and tone setting kind of guy. I guess the only thing with him is it's just kind of play strength and his size. But other than that, he's really good. I don't see a lot of deficiencies in his game. Like he can cover, particularly in underneath coverage. That's kind of where he mops up. You can kind of challenge him vertically if you're going to match him up in coverage, on a seam route. But I think you plug him in tomorrow and he starts. So incredibly solid. Just doesn't quite have the ceiling that you're going to get from one of those ridiculous athletes like Sonny Styles, but still an incredible day 2 value. He's going to be great. I know Nick's very high on him as well.
I'm extremely high on the guy. I think I've done 15 mocks so far, all fake ones, obviously. But the one out of all of them, only one of them I managed to get Jacob Rodriguez in the second round, and I actually had to trade up 4 spots to get him as well. So yeah.
Yeah, I done a mock draft earlier, and I actually traded back from 31 and took Max Iheanacho in the second round. But with my second round pick,
That's a fine.
I did take Jacob Rodriguez fell to me, and I wasn't planning to take a linebacker in the second round. That's a bit too high for where I think we need to go. But best player available, right? Like if you're not, if he's sat there, and what do you do? So I think you don't go into this draft with the intention of taking him, but if he sat there for you and you think, how the hell has he got here? I think you have to consider him.
You have to consider that point. He has got a few weaknesses. Undersized frame, as we've already said. He gets washed out when offensive linemen reach the second level cleanly. Missed tackle numbers are higher than you want, partly from over-aggressive angles. Coverage burst showed up too often in 2025, despite strong overall coverage grades. Receivers caught over 80% of passes thrown his direction as a senior. Okay, that's probably why he's a second round player then. Bites hard on misdirection and play action. The urgency works against him there. And he also lacks ideal arm length for consistent wrap-up tackles in traffic. I didn't know about that stat, Rob, with the fact that 80% of passes thrown his way, the receiver has caught it. That's a little concerning, don't you think?
I don't know. Possibly. And like we say, maybe that's why he's not a first rounder. But this is the kind of player that I can get really excited about, and it's nice that kind of everybody, I think, on the pod is in the same boat on this guy as being a really exciting player, and way more so for me than someone like CJ Allen. Both good players, but this guy I look at and I think has a higher ceiling than what Allen does. The stats that this guy has over the last 2 years are insane. Like, it's 255 tackles over the last 2 years. Like, it's just bonkers numbers. And the guy that he reminded of, you made one Patriots comparison, and this one probably isn't perfect, but the player that he reminded me of, my favorite player on the Patriots roster, Robert Spillane.
Right?
Oh,
Spillane.
In the sense that, right, when I watch the Patriots, and if I'm sat watching with somebody who doesn't really, isn't 100% into it like I am, maybe doesn't know who Robert Spillane is, and they go, which one is he? And I go, right, look for the ball, right? And he's that one. He's the one next to the ball on every single defensive play. And it's the same thing with Jacob Rodriguez. Like, he just seems to be in the right place at the right time. It's a credit to his ability to read the game, which has been mentioned, and his motor. Like, he's just a hard worker. He's coming downhill with bad intentions, and he just seems like an absolute beast to me. And so this is the kind of player that I would love, if he was available for the Patriots. Like you say, it's a little bit high in terms of, we've got more pressing needs. I think that linebacker is a little bit of a sneaky need for us because, it's Robert Spillane, Christian Ellis, and then a whole lot of,
we're a bit thin at that position.
It's KJ Britt and Marte Mapu, right? A really big guy and a really, small guy or, undersized guy. So I think that there is space to add somebody in there for a little bit of depth, particularly with Spillane missing 4 games last year, being a little bit banged up at the end. He didn't look quite himself at the end of the season compared to what he did early on. So I think there is space. If you could land someone like Jacob Rodriguez, I think he's the kind of player that whoever he goes to, the fans are going to fall in love with him. I certainly did from when I started watching film with him. The first time that I heard his name was when Nick mentioned him on the pod. And I thought, okay, I'll go watch some film. And it was like, wow, okay, this guy can play. He's just a football player. So I think he's a really exciting prospect. And yeah, if he was there for the Patriots at the right spot, then I'd certainly consider it.
Okay. Kieran, pick a player. Who have you got on your board next? Who you think we could be sneakily going for?
Well, I mean, like I said, I wouldn't necessarily look at this position until like early day 3. The next guy I have on my board is Jake Golday. He's my fifth linebacker. Whether we're going to take him, I don't know. I wouldn't have thought so, but he's the next highest guy I've got. So like, obviously he's really big, right? Like, he's physically imposing, like very, very long, very tall. He's a bit of a technician, versatile, can kind of line him up all over. High speed and motor guy, can be an impact special teamer as well. Just not great, like short area and lateral quickness. Zone coverage is a little bit of an issue for him, and he's doesn't really have the strength or the body mass to kind of anchor against those big guards. But I think in terms of a day 2 linebacker for some teams, I think Golday is up there. So he's my 5th linebacker. Not someone that I would necessarily take for New England, but a solid enough player to warrant a 2nd or 3rd round selection.
Rob, what about you?
Yeah, I'd probably agree with that assessment. Like, he's not going to be a fit for New England, really. I think we're looking for that, inside guy that can sit in behind the guys that we mentioned. Jake Golday, though, good player. He's certainly like a jack of all trades. We mentioned a little bit about Arvo Reese earlier on and him being able to do a bit of everything. I think Jake Golday can, do a little bit of that, but not to the same level that Arvo Reese can. Strong tackler. I mean, his size is his greatest asset, really, at 6'4", 240 pounds nearly. I think that, he could play that role, but I think he's probably going to fit in more of like an outside linebacker guy, position in like a 3-4 scheme. I don't think that he's going to be an inside linebacker like the kind of player that we need. So there's value there for him, but it's not somebody that I would be interested in for us.
Okay, let's throw a name out there. The linebacker out of Missouri, Josiah Trotter. Everyone already knows Jeremiah Trotter, his father. So he was a 4-time Pro Bowler and 2-time All-Pro linebacker for the Eagles. His older brother, Jeremiah Jr., won the Super Bowl with those same Eagles after back-to-back All-American honors at Clemson. Good run defense is his calling card. He erases rushing lane before they develop, processes run schemes quickly, heavy hands at the point of attack to generate separation and knock linemen off their tracks. Lower body strength lets him hold ground against double teams. Quick first step to shoot gaps arrive in the backfield before backs can redirect. And flexible hips help him squeeze through the traffic. Reliable wrap-up tackler as well. He can finish with authority and rarely gives any yards up after contact. And he just showed real pass rush ability on delayed blitzes and zone dogs with his handwork. Is this potentially a round 3? Yes, it's potentially a round 3. Day 2/day 3. That's somewhere in between there. Like round 3, maybe round 4.
Probably, back end of 2, early 3. I think for Josiah Trotter, I think he's got some stuff that you like you said, prototypical run defending linebacker, similar to CJ Allen. That's kind of, as you said, run defense is the calling card. He's someone that you want to send downhill as a blitzer. Potential green dot guy, like really smart, good communicator, just not a great coverage guy, and has that hip stiffness. So he's going to need a specific scheme fit again. He's in a mold. I've got a category written down here. I've got downhill guys. So Trotter, Anthony Hill Jr. from Texas, and then you've got Keyshawn Elliott from Arizona State. They're all guys that are, as we said, in that same mold as CJ Allen, run defense first, downhill, blitz linebackers that are not going to do much in coverage. So depending on what defensive scheme you run, if you're looking for someone you're going to send downhill and you want a run defender, they're the types of guys you want probably, on day 2. But if you want someone a bit different then that can cover, then I don't think they're going to be of interest to you. But again, like we said about Dallas and Buffalo, if you're a team that needs that, then these guys are going to provide decent day 2 value, and they can slot straight into a role from the off as a run defender.
Rob, next player on your list.
I think I've got in a similar sort of range. Cal Louis out of Pittsburgh.
That's who I was going to go. Kyle, I think
Lewis,
I guarantee it'll be.
Lewis?
I guarantee it'll be Kyle Louis will be called at the podium. Guarantee you, and someone will try and then we'll get a 3 day. We'll get a 3 day response back from bloody Ian Rapport saying no, it's Kyle Lewis, not Kyle Louis.
I don't watch film with sound on, so it's the first time that I hear these guys' names out loud is when you say them, Carl, a lot of the time. So I don't know.
While you're there, then you develop it. I'm gonna go on YouTube and actually try and
That's
see
what I did earlier for Bryce Betcher.
And,
Is it?
oh, what you did the
I was like, is it Botcher? Is it Bocher? It's Betcher.
Nice, but yeah. I like Kyle Louis or Lewis, whichever it is. I like him out of Pittsburgh. A little bit in the smaller range, 6 foot, 220. But it means that he can get around the field quickly. He's a fast player. I think that he has that coverage ability that someone like Josiah Trotter lacks. Josiah Trotter I had next to him, I'd written down old school, like that old sort of field to linebacker. A lot of the way the modern game is now, you're looking at linebackers in that 220, 230 range who have a little bit more speed. I think Deion Jones was a good early example of this on Atlanta, going back about 10 years now. But this guy I think has a lot of sort of facets to his game. He's a pretty good run defender, comes downhill quickly. But I think that he just has that little bit more flexibility and versatility in terms of being able to stick him in on third down and not feel like it's a liability. I think that, Trotter, for example, as mentioned, he's going to get exposed against, any sort of athletic slot receiver, running back, tight end. I think Kyle Louis has more of a chance of holding his own in those situations. And so for me, that extra little bit of versatility, I think I would have him a touch higher. High motor guy, finishes plays. So I'm a fan of him in that same sort of range.
Yeah, I think with Kyle Louis, some people have him as a safety. So because he is a bit of a hybrid player, like he's lined up as an off-ball linebacker, he's lined up as a box safety, and there's like a big nickel. So he's kind of done a lot of like Nick Emawari stuff. We said that similar to what Traden Stukes has done, the corner from a safety from Arizona. I think he's a safety. So he's kind of that moving piece again. As you said, highly athletic. Great speed, sideline to sideline, pursuit speed, really good cover guy, and obviously that matches up with the fact that he can play safety, always around the football, great ball production again. That's a lot of defensive back traits. But yeah, like obviously just he's small, right? 6 foot, it's not. He's not overly heavy. He doesn't have that play strength. He can get completely washed out by guards in the running game, and he does lack that strength and body mass. But he's going to be like a bit of a chess piece on the defense. I like him as well as like a 3rd round player. If you're looking for a coverage guy who can move around your formation and put in a few different roles, then I think he's a good fit in the 3rd round. But he's not going to be for everyone.
No, I've just found out it's Kyle Lewis.
Nice.
It's Kyle Lewis. Anyway. Okay. Back end of day 3, shall we say. One particular linebacker I want to bring up. This guy's been doing the rounds, and I've ended up with him on my draft board for like half of the time. Howell Perkins, out of LSU. 6'1", 223. So he is a bit he's a very on the light side. He ran a 4.45 in the 40, which is insanely quick. His sophomore year brought a position shift to off-ball linebacker, where he still managed 75 tackles, 13 for a loss, and 5.5 sacks en route to 2nd team All SEC. A torn ACL against UCLA in 2024, limited to 4 games as a junior. Perkins returned for 2025, posted 56 tackles, 8 tackles for loss, 4.5 sacks, and 3 interceptions across 12 games. He finished his LSU career with 35.5 tackles for loss and 17 sacks in 43 games. This kind of is the sort of play that we kind of really need, but more like in the back end of the draft, like day 3. But is Perkins going to be there in round 4? Is he going to be there if he's going to be there like in round 5?
Yeah, I think he probably doesn't come off the board until round 5. I think he's he's a really bizarre prospect because there's lots to like about him. You know, he's very much a Swiss Army knife, and you know the explosiveness jumps off the page. He's versatile. You can line him up in different areas. He's effective as a pass rusher. He's got great bend. His production has been really good. He's just really small. Like, he's undersized for both linebacker and edge. You know, he's still developing as a tackler. He's got medical history. Like, he's still developing the mental side of his game. And like, I've got written at the bottom here, unsure where his positional future lies in the NFL, but has a lot of upside if he can find a role. And I feel like this is the definition of a day 3 flyer. Like, he's going to end up going somewhere like in the middle of day 3 probably, and could end up being a steal. But it's just how you use him and what system he goes to. So I like this. I would definitely be interested in taking a flyer on this guy. You know, middle of day 3 if he's on the board. Some team is definitely going to fall in love with the traits. So yeah, Perkins is definitely one of those names to watch, I think.
Definitely. Rob?
Yeah, fun player to watch. When I first started watching, or even before I started watching film on linebackers, I sort of had a look through, because I think there's a lot of value, and this has been mentioned in terms of, you know, we mentioned the name Nick Eamon-Wari, right? And finding that guy, you know, that chess piece on defense, whether it's Eamon-Wari, Kyle Hamilton, Derwin James. They're a little bit sort of different in terms of build, but they all do a similar role in terms of being really versatile. You can put them in zone coverage, you can put them in man coverage, you can put them at the line of scrimmage. You can do all these different things with them and cause headaches for offenses. And we sort of had that to a degree in Kyle Duggar, or at least that was sort of the idea with him. Obviously, he got shipped out. We brought Mate Mapu in a couple of years ago. And, you know, he's shown flashes, but he's never really developed into, you know, sort of a great player in terms of filling that role. And I think that, you know, it's really exciting if you can find players who have the ability to sort of do that. And Harold Perkins fits the bill in terms of like his physical gifts, you know, not only his size, but, you know, his speed, his, you know, his strength, all that kind of thing. I mean, I've got written down exactly what Kieran said. Fast, bendy, Swiss Army knife is what I've got written down. But I sort of like, not soured on him, but, you know, it kind of sunk in as I was watching the film. And I was like, what do you actually do with this guy? You know, and it seemed like, you know, the idea of Harold Perkins might actually end up being a lot better than the reality of Harold Perkins. Is he the sort of person that, you know, because we see this all the time, players that are sort of, you know, great at the college level, and then it just doesn't translate into the NFL because it's a step up in terms of physicality, speed, quality, everything. And I think there's a risk with Harold Perkins that, you know, it just doesn't translate and he isn't able to be effective in the NFL. Still interesting because there's potential there. And, you know, when we're talking about day 3 picks, that's what it's all about. I do think, though, that even if we were to go in the direction of Perkins, it still doesn't like fully fill the need that we've got at linebacker. Like, I don't know. I think that, you know, we've kind of got somebody in his sort of building, Mate Mapu. I think that it's really another sort of middle linebacker, you know, that can, you know, if you do lose someone like Spillane again for a couple of games, or Christian Ellis, you know, at the moment we've got this choice between, do you put in a massive guy in KJ Britt or an undersized guy in Mate Mapu? And so there's a couple of other guys towards the end of the draft that I'd be interested in. I think, Kez, you're a big fan of Bryce Betcher, as we now know it is, so I'll let you go on him. But Caleb Elamzor as well. I think there's a couple of guys that are a little bit bigger that could be, you know, better fits for the Patriots later on.
Nick, talk about Bryce.
Nick?
I'll have a job.
Kieran, sorry.
Yeah, I like Bryce Betcher from Oregon. He's undersized, but incredibly instinctive. Another green dot guy with high football IQ and that pre-snap communication. Red hot motor and relentless as a pursuit guy. Really assured as a tackler. Can play in multiple coverages. Also a core special teams guy. Okay, he's not the most physically gifted. He's not overly long, and you know he's still like, you know, developing a lot of aspects to his game. Moves okay, but not the most explosive or quick. I just think that if you're looking for a Jack Gibbons replacement, I think Bryce Betcher is it. Like, I feel like Spillane and Ellis are probably going to play the majority of the starting snaps. But if you want a rotating guy to replace Gibbons and the role he played, especially with special teams as well, I really like Bryce Betcher as like a, fifth rounder type of guy, because I think he slots in straight away as that kind of role player and core special teamer. So yeah, he's someone I would have a look at. I also agree with Rob on Caleb Elam-Zor from TCU.
Yeah.
A little bit of a different skill set to Betcher. Undersized again, but more explosive, a lot quicker. Someone who's going to come downhill, can offer you an element as a pass rusher. But then, like, once again, still developing as a processor. Will need to get a bit bulkier and not as good in coverage as Bryce Betcher. But these are two guys in kind of like round 5 that I think could come in and find a role in the defense quite easily. I'll throw a third name in there as well. Aiden Fisher from Indiana, obviously just won the national championship as well. Similar with these guys, instinctive, intelligent, elite processor, really smart, downhill defender, assured tackler, solid in zone coverage, and highly experienced on special teams. And again, like Betcher, not the most athletically gifted, stiff-hipped. Against elite elite athleticism is going to struggle a little bit. But again, if you're looking at these mid to late round guys at linebacker who can come in and fill a role and find the role on special teams as well, I think Aiden Fisher definitely fits into that group with Betcher and Elam-Zor. They are 3 names I would look at on day 3 of the draft. And then a couple of other names were not mentioned that I think are more on the bubble of day 2, 3 are Deontay Lawson from Alabama, who I think is just going to find a rotational role, could eventually develop into a starter. And then some people have this guy as an edge rusher, but Jay-Sean Barham from Michigan, someone that you all know, Carl. I don't know if I see him playing full-time at edge. He's another one of these guys like Arvil Reese who kind of plays a bit of both. But I think in terms of the body type and the skill set, I think he'd probably be best served playing as an off-ball linebacker in the NFL.
He will be, yeah.
Yeah. Some guys view him as an edge rusher. He has a lot of upside. He's really athletic.
6'4", 240. Although his vertical was pretty bad. I don't know if he mistimed his jump or what. 33, which is pretty bad. His broad jump is good. It was a 4.64, so really good there. His comp that I've got for him is someone like a I don't know. Don't know if I'm going to be very honest with you.
Let's
Maybe
ask AI while you're looking at that.
I'm not asking AI about it. I use AI for thumbnails. All right, so I'm not going to use it for that. But now listen, any defensive player a team takes out from if Michigan, they're getting a good player because that was the only good thing that was anything good about Michigan last season. The defense was elite. Sadly, the offense could do jack. And look what happened when your offense can't do jack, your defense ends up getting gassed now.
Jay-Sean Barham's comps, according to this, Chop Robinson, Foye Aludakun from the Jags, Josh Uche, and Jalen Walker. I think Josh Uche makes a lot of sense, not just for the Michigan link, but the fact that someone who played a bit as an off-ball linebacker at Michigan as well as an edge rusher, speed guy, athletic, probably going to be typical third down kind of player. I know some people are a lot higher on Jay-Sean Barham than what I am. I think he's probably like a third round guy, but he has that kind of hybrid versatility. And then, like I said, with Deontay Lawson, just experienced, instinctive, sideline to sideline, blitzer, comfortable in zone coverage. I feel like he's just going to be like a really solid, rotational linebacker who might end up being a starter for some team in a couple of years' time. But again, a third round guy.
Yeah, potentially. We'll see. There are some good players. There are some good names to look out in the draft. But if there was a particular linebacker you two wanted, who would it be? Rob, who would you go for? The ideal linebacker for us?
Are we talking at a particular pick or?
Well, obviously we're not picking up a linebacker at 1, are we?
No, no. So out of anyone in the draft, I mean, I think we've kind of mentioned that the favorite guy is Jacob Rodriguez. But that's maybe a little bit high. If it was later on, then probably Bryce Betcher.
Bryce Bircher. Okay, Kieran.
Yeah, I think in terms of the value, like there's lots of guys that can come into our team at different stages of the draft and make an impact. This is a very deep class of role players, but looking at where our other priorities lie, I'm not taking one prior to day 3 unless somebody has like a almighty fall and you just have to go best player available. So with that in mind, give me Bryce Betcher to replace Jack Gibbons.
Yeah. Did you see he got used on offense once as well? He's got an offensive touchdown with Bryce Betcher.
Oh,
yeah.
So there's a nice, interesting.
It's got Mike Vrabel written all over it.
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
It's just got Mike Vrabel all over it. Okay, we'll call it a night there on the linebackers. This coming Saturday, we will be doing the defensive tackle or rather the defensive line position. There's a certain nose tackle that Kieran is sniffing around. I think he'll give his instinct. He'll give his instincts on. I'm not going to give you the name. We'll find out on Saturday when we
said
do
it.
our
People have been following our shows. I've already said
probably have said it at some point, but
the Tonga replacement.
Yeah, the Tonga replacement. I think Kieran's got his eye out for that one. But yeah, come and join us on Saturday for when we do the defensive lineman position. And yeah, we will see you on Saturday. Thank you to Rob. Thank you to Kieran. Please make sure you smash the like button on the way out. Grog, spike the subscribe button. Tell all your friends. Follow us on social media platforms. Make sure you follow the podcast on Spotify and on Apple as well. Remember, guys, we are 10 subs away from that 100. Let's get there in the next 3 weeks. And also in the next 3 weeks, we will also be at the Hippodrome Casino in London for an NFL draft party, which will be absolutely amazing. We'll have a little more detail, hopefully, by the end of next week, and we can relay that on more to our viewers. If you want to get your tickets and so on, all good. Thank you everyone who's been watching. Good night. God bless. Go Patriots.